Let me start this video really quick by just saying this is one of the worst theater experiences I have ever had. I love going to big event movies and having extremely excited fans there cheering and clapping, and it's a lot of fun. That is part of the experience, and that's what you expect, especially for these big event movies. What I don't love is when I have a group of teenagers lined up next to me that take joy in ruining everyone else's time and mocking anyone that's having a good time. They talk the entire movie. Please don't go see a movie if you're going to be a dickhead. Go away. No one wants you there. Anyway, I watched Spider-Man: No Way Home. This is the latest entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And what do I think? Well, it's good. It's probably my favorite out of the current Home trilogy. A lot has been improved, especially since the first two. The performances are all good, with one exception. The music was more prominent in this one, but I will get more into this in the spoiler section. Speaking of spoilers, get out now while you still can if you haven't seen it. Unless you don't really care, your choice. Live it up. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So the secret that everybody knew going into this movie, or most people, was that this film would have returning characters from both Raimi trilogies and Webb trilogy. Oh wait, I'll be honest, I was not really looking forward to this film. It felt like a last-ditch attempt to do something crazy while they still could, because I feel like the contract with Tom Holland and Spider-Man and Sony and MCU seems pretty muddy. But I wasn't looking forward to this one because I wasn't really impressed with the last two films. I heard all the rumors and leaks and thought, I should probably go see this. This concept felt like a last-minute idea to me. To my surprise, it works out really well and gives us a pretty cool Spider-Man movie. I don't know, maybe that's just my goopy nerd brain having nostalgia for the Raimi trilogy. I adore those films. My biggest problem with Tom Holland's iteration was that he was too powerful, but it also was really inconsistent. I mean, he goes from fighting a space god to getting DDoSed by Jake Gyllenhaal. Every time some threat faced him, he had some crazy Iron Man tech that was given to him, or he invented it with Iron Man's help or Iron Man's technology. His Iron Spider suit is nearly invincible. I'm glad they got rid of that thing. My biggest issue with Far From Home is the mantle of Iron Man is placed onto Peter, onto Spider-Man. I don't want Spider-Man to be Iron Man. I want Spider-Man to be Spider-Man. That's the best thing No Way Home does. It brings Peter down a few pegs, but it also puts his responsibility above all else. Spider-Man fans absolutely love it when they get to see Peter Parker living in a crap apartment, no money, costume. It's all there. What else could you ask for? So the fallout of Mysterio's last-minute you to Peter is felt instantly, and I'm glad. One thing I would have loved to see from the ending of Homecoming, I would have loved to see an interaction immediately after when Aunt May finds out that Peter is Spider-Man. We just get a time jump, so we don't really get that interaction. They're just kind of okay and Far From Home. So plot. Peter gets DDoSed by Jake, and it's ruining his life. You really get to see how miserable his life has absolutely become. You get to see all the students at his school shoving camera phones in his face. People are berating Aunt May's apartment constantly, throwing stuff, helicopters outside circling all the time. And this badly affects Ned and MJ as well, because they're so closely tied to Peter. They get rejected from MIT just because of their association. It's pretty good. It's good. I like that. We get a pretty cool cameo from Charlie Cox playing Matt Murdock, Daredevil. I've only seen the first 2 seasons of Daredevil, but Charlie Cox is great, so I don't know what else to say. And he was only in there for 20 seconds. He shows up, catches a brick, says he's a great lawyer, leaves. What a bad. So Peter feels that he only has one option after this hell he is living in. Get one of his Avengers friends to fix his issues, like the other movies. Let me just start this part by saying, Doctor Strange is an idiot. Did you not think you should literally warn Peter that everyone will forget that Peter is Spider-Man, and you didn't run over the details before this huge spell that you're about to pull? Seems like a pretty big oversight to me. Do your job better. Also, what's up with his hair? It's like a Lego hairstyle. So Peter screws up the spell, along with idiot Doctor Strange, and everyone who knows Peter Parker is pulled into this universe, the MCU. There's some inconsistencies, not gonna lie. Electro has no idea who Peter is, so he shouldn't be there. The Doctor Strange spell is messy, but all it really is an excuse to get all these cool characters pulled in. This whole plot, it feels very much like a big budget fan fiction, but it's a pretty good fan fiction. Guess it could have been a lot worse. Peter decides to try to argue his case with the MIT person. I don't know what her job was. The MIT person. But he has to intercept her on the way to the airport before she leaves. I love he gets out of his suit and he's just in this crappy, wrinkled, cheap suit he's wearing. And it's got the really bad crease lines in it because he has to cram it into his Iron Spider suit every time he wears it. I thought that was a nice touch. Anyway, he's attacked on his way to the airport by Dr. Octopus.
If I were a rich man.
Alfred Molina is 68 years old, and he looks quite different to how he looked back in Spider-Man 2. So they did de-aging on him, and it looks pretty good. I didn't really notice it. I knew he had de-aging, but it never really took me out. I never was looking at it constantly, just like, that doesn't look great. It all looks pretty good. Maybe if I watched it again and slowed it down, I could look closer and be like, that doesn't look great. But no, it never pulled me out. Nothing. It all looks really good. Alfred Molina he's really good. He's one of the best in this movie. He's chewing the scenery. He's having a blast. He's given 100% just like he did back in Spider-Man 2. The tentacles are not practical this time around. Obviously, I wasn't expecting them to be. Just a bummer. I don't know. I love the idea that there's these huge puppets that 4 people per arm would do back in Spider-Man 2. It's really impressive. Go back and watch that. Those are all puppeted most of the time.
In peak performance, with all 4 tentacles going simultaneously, there were 16 puppeteers working. Each puppeteer had a very specific job. Each tentacle takes 4 people to operate.
Not all the VFX work looks good as a whole in the movie. Some of it felt rushed. It's kind of gross. I find it very gross how the industry absolutely abuses visual effects artists. With the amount of reliance they put on top of these artists, most movies nowadays are almost fully animated. I don't doubt the artists were being overworked, probably had to sleep at their desk just to finish this so they could get their paycheck. Whatever, that's a story for another day. Go watch Life After Pi. It's on YouTube for free. My biggest issue with Doc Ock is that he's used kind of as a punching bag for jokes. Not good jokes.
I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Dr. Otto Octavius.
Wait, no, seriously, what's your actual name?
I mean, they're fine, but they're also jokes we've heard before.
What are we gonna call this guy?
Dr. Octopus.
That's crap.
Science Squid?
Crap.
Doctor Strange.
That's pretty good. But it's taken.
Like, yeah, we get it. He's got a funny name. They said this 20 years ago. The music is really well done, and they also reincorporate a lot of the other themes from prior Spider-Man movies. I remember specifically hearing the terrible Electro theme from Amazing Spider-Man 2. And I also remember hearing the Dr. Octopus theme, which is beautiful, and it's reincorporated, and it works great. This is the best performance I've seen from Tom Holland. He's always been good, but in this, he's really, really great. He's really given it his all, and I really respect how much work he's put into this, and a lot of the stunts he does himself, and they look great, and it just kind of adds a level of the right he has to perform the character. I don't know. Stunts aren't everything, but you can tell he cares. On to the one caveat I had earlier about performances I don't think are good. The one. I don't think Jamie Foxx is a very good actor. I haven't seen Django, but every other movie I've seen him in, he's been at best okay and bad. I think he's okay at times in this, but at other times he's just kind of bad. Maybe he's good in Django. At least he wasn't blue and he didn't look like a knockoff Dr. Manhattan. On to Sandman. On to the bottom 2 real quick. I would have loved if Thomas Hayden Church would have come back as Sandman, but either to the pandemic right now or schedule issues conflicting and he didn't really want to come back fully. He's not here. He's just kind of a vague sand person. But he looks kind of bad at times. I don't know. The sand effects at times looked kind of worse than they did back in Spider-Man 3. The only footage they use of the actor is alternate takes from Spider-Man 3 when he's dying in the subway and he's all turning into mud. They just changed the effect. But he was okay. His performance was fine. Nothing special. He kind of gets put in the backseat. Man, the Lizard sucks so much. The Lizard and Electro are not great villains. They weren't good in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. They're not really great here either. Same problem with Sandman. The actor wasn't there or couldn't be there, didn't want to be there. So they just have a voiceover, which is fine. The character's fully CG most of the time anyway. He doesn't really do anything. There's even a scene where they all go into the apartment and they're like, "Where's Lizard?" "Oh, he wanted to stay in the truck." Why don't you watch him? He's a lizard. You don't know if he's gonna commit and stay on your side. What are you doing? And then he just gets out. Like, you could have just said, "Oh, he's taking a nap in the other room," and it would have been the exact same. His design looks kind of tweaked. I'm not sure how much of that is true. It looks a little different. Maybe it's his eyes. I don't know. I don't like the design. I don't get how we can't have the proper lab coat, purple pants, snooty snout lizard. Just give us this. That's all we want. Just give us this. I saved the best villain for last. Norman Osborn, Green Goblin, is absolutely incredible in this film. The absolute beast that Willem Dafoe did not agree to come back unless he could do all or most of his own stunts.
I don't want to just pop in there as a cameo or just fill in close-ups. I want to do the action because that's fun for me. And also, it's really impossible to add any integrity or any fun to the character if you don't participate in these things, because all that action stuff informs your relationship to the characters in the story and also allows you, it makes you earn your right to play the character in a funny way.
He is 66, by the way. He's pushing that Jekyll and Hyde thing as far as it can go. He is the best villain we've had in the home trilogy, which is hilarious because he's not even really from this trilogy. He's just a former villain from another franchise. That's funny. The hallway scene is probably my favorite action scene. It's incredibly visceral. You get a great evil monologue from Goblin, and Willem Dafoe is killing it, chewing that scenery. But he's saying really goofy lines, but they work because he's saying them. And they get into a fight, they're slamming through the hallway, slamming him through floors. That is so cool. The biggest reveal of this movie, well, one that almost everyone and their grandmother knew, including myself, was that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield would be reprising their roles as their respective Spider-Men. Andrew Garfield, you big fat liar.
You and Tobey Maguire on the set of Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man movie. And I was like, wow,
I'm not sure about that.
I don't know how to bring up the Spider-Man stuff because obviously I don't even want to like ruin anything if there is something to ruin, except to
there isn't anything to ruin, bro. I had to quickly cut you off. There's nothing to ruin.
Really?
Like it's so crazy to
this just gotten out of hand. This is all bullshit,
dude. It's hilarious to me. Yeah, as I've said previously, it's not something that I hate being given the responsibility of disappointing people. But yeah, no, it's not something that that I've been asked about or anything like that. But never say never. Like, I feel like I'm in a game of werewolf or mafia where I'm like, I'm not the werewolf. I promise you, I am not the werewolf. And everyone's like, you're the werewolf. You're the werewolf.
I really wanted to see all the Spider-Men interact. I was kind of worried they would just show up as a cameo and pat Tom Holland on the back and say, "Good job, buddy." Luckily, they're in the final act of the movie, and they do a big team up, and it's really cool. It's everything you could want from this movie. The Amazing Spider-Man duology, is not good. The first film is mediocre, boring, kind of forgettable. I barely remember what happens. I know the weird no-snout lizard is in there. And the second one is one of the worst movies I've ever seen, but it's hilarious. But Andrew Garfield is not one of the reasons those movies are bad. It's primarily just the writing and the priorities of that series was not to have a good Spider-Man story. It was to set up more Spider-Man stories rather than telling the one they're doing currently and doing a good job at it. In both of those movies, Andrew Garfield is giving 110%. And the weird performance issues he has, I can ring up to just bad directing or bad writing. You can feel his love of this character, and this feels very much like a redemption for him. He's given his whole heart into this film. When he dives off the edge and catches MJ, and you just see that pain in his eyes. I don't think the Gwen Stacy death is cool. I don't like that movie. I don't think the Gwen Stacy death works, but I get it, and I more felt it as a metaphor for Andrew Garfield, just kind of like, I rescued what was left, you know? I honestly think he's really hoping they get to make an Amazing Spider-Man 3. If not, this was probably kind of his like, this is my closure. but who knows, they might get to make Amazing Spider-Man 3, and I kind of hope he gets his opportunity, because he kind of got screwed over in that whole situation. He kind of overshadows Tobey just a little bit. Seeing Tobey Maguire in his awkwardness and just shyness fills my heart with giddiness.
Hi. Hi. This is really heavy.
That's Peter from the Raimi trilogy. Presenting this Peter as like an older, wiser version of Spider-Man that kind of mentors primarily Tom Holland. An obvious direction to go, but it works perfectly here. I don't know, I love all the interplay you get between Tobey and Andrew, and Tom and Andrew, and Tom and Tobey. Just the scene where they're sitting on the scaffolding just shooting to shit that just like comes out of your wrists. Ugh. I don't know. This movie, it's good. I don't know what more you could want. It's the ultimate fan service. There's a lot of memes. We know. This is honestly the best I feel like this could have turned out in the circumstances. I don't see it getting any better than this. I'm gonna give this movie, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I feel comfortable with a 7. Close to a 6. 7's good. Not an 8. It's a hard 7. If you like this, like and share it around if you could. Drop a like, that helps me out. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I'll be making more videos similar to this one. And that's it. I'm happy. See you around. Peace out.